Alright, I'm working on my plaque here. I'm going to go over it with some dark, black thing. I'm going to set this aside. Let's go ahead and paint our figure. How's that sound, huh? Let's go ahead and paint him. Get him out of the way. Let me get something to wipe my hands with. I'm sorry. Oh. Ah, brother. All right, let me lift this up just a little bit. Paint the figure. Okay. I tell you, my house, I had all my stuff. It was so easy to work with, and now I'm this little old place here. It's not much to deal with. So, all right. But I'm not complaining. I have a roof over my head, and I thank Jesus for that. I'll tell you what. All right, let's go ahead and do our figure here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I got my water. Go ahead and do his shoes. A black. Been a little cool, and then all of a sudden it got hot, so no wonder everybody ends up with colds and bronchitis and stuff the way this weather has been going. All right, we got his shoes going now. Now let's decide a little bit on his pants. And I think I'm going to kind of go with a lighter let's see, like a little golden on his pants. And then when I kind of antique him a little bit, it will bring the, darken this up a little bit. The antiquing that I use now is just simply a, I just use a wash with a brown. I know I have an antiquing solution I was using, but now that I'm over here now, I don't have access to it, and I don't really want to make it out in the garage out there. So you can just use a wash of brown and possibly a little black mixed with it if you want to darken it. Okay. All right. Now, probably I'm going to use a brown, most likely, on the jacket. I always give things usually several coats, so I never start with the first coat as being the I just think I don't want real flashy colors in this scene. It is not necessary. I don't think you would use flashy colors in a scene like this. Sort of a little somber scene. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know how other people would. And I usually give it 2 coats, just sort of darken it up. I use a combination of the color and water. Because the water then gives me the desired look I want, and it calms it sort of stains, it sort of soaks into the figure itself that I'm doing here. That's why I use the water, though. I use the water because, and then I give it 2 coats instead of just 1. But I don't want this to be a scene of flashy clothes and things like that. That is not, it would not be appropriate for a scene like this. And a brown coat or something like that fits perfectly the way I want it. All right, now we have the tie and we have the shirt. Okay? So the shirt, I'm going to go ahead and use just a little bit of white. You get a smaller brush here to get in between there. I'll use a little bit of white because just a little bit of the shirt is showing. And I don't worry too much if it gets a little on the other one, because I'm going to come back and do it over. Just want to kind of let it soak in that first time to let it, because white you always have to basically go over it a second time, no matter what. And then the I want to go ahead and use a light rustic red for the tie. Not a real elaborate type tie, just a rustic red with and you notice how I dip it in the water to give me that stain look. And if I get a little bit too much, then I just dip it in the red. I mean, I dip it in the there you go. I dip it in the water, and I get a much look. For the, I want to go ahead and do a brown also for the hair. Okay. And that's the wonderful thing about using water, is if I get it a little too dark, then I can come back and lighten it up just a little bit. I like that. That's why I use water. I dip it in the water, then I dip it in my paint. If I want to lighten it up, I just use a little bit more water. Okay, and let me go and get my flesh. And since let's get those ears. Since he has no face, just want to make sure that he gets, and we'll go over that with a little red to make it more on it. All right, now we're going to let that dry, and then when we, now the next thing we want to do is to we want to take our cross and we want to paint it white. Okay, let me find the cross here. All right, now I have glued the cross onto the mound here. And we're going to paint the cross a white color, okay? I use Duro 5-minute epoxy when I do this kind of stuff. And you'll have to paint the cross several times. Don't worry about the mess or anything like that, because that's all going to be covered up. But let's go ahead and paint our cross white. I want to do that before I glue it to the, I'm going to glue this to the base, the plaque that we have. And I want to make sure that we get, you know, because I don't want to paint it after. I may have to, you know, but I want to get my painting done on my cross if I can, before I start putting the gravel down and everything like that, is what I'm trying to say. See how I did that? I glued it to the stand here, or it's the mound. Actually, I guess you would call that on a grave the mound. That whenever they dig a grave and it's fresh, a lot of times they will you'll have sand and you'll have gravel and stuff like that over it. Usually it's a sand color, but I'm going to use the little gravel type color. It doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal. Alright, see, we got the cross. Now that, of course, is going to have to be it's going to have to be painted several times to get the effect that I want. Okay? Alright, now, let me go back. Let's set this aside, and I'm going to go back, because this is dry. When you use the water, your pieces dry very, very quickly. So, let me go back to my piece here. Okay, now let me get my smaller thing here. Let me change my water too. Let me go ahead and change my water so that I can have clean water. All right. Okay, let me start with my smaller, with my shoes. I want to give them just another little coat here. This is my black that I'm using here. Okay. All right. And I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to work on this coat again. Whoops. And like I said, when you use the water with the paint, it doesn't take so long for the paint to dry. And let's give the coat another little thing. Be a little bit darker. Now let me get the other brush, which is a little bit and then we'll finish off come up here. And let me get in here and finish that off a little bit. Okay. All right. Now I want to take a little bit of the my smaller brush, and I want to hit around the bottom here of the pants. The pants really don't need just a little black dot on the bottom here, and I'm gonna Alright, just kind of, let me get my other brush, hit it a little bit, dump it in the, and give the pants just another little, just a little go around, not much, they really don't need much more color to them, because the antiquing will darken them a little bit. But I'm just giving a little bit more so that it doesn't, I've told you a lot of times, my carvings, I don't like real bright paint on my carvings. I like my carvings to have that older look. Always have, always will. There we go. Now, let's go back with white and my little small brush here. Try it just a little bit. Hitting the white right here. There, that's much better. Okay. A little bit of the brown right in here. I got a little white on it, and I just kind of, okay. And let me use the smaller brush and put a little of the red in here. On the tie, it's not going to need that much because I don't want it real dark. And before I antique, of course, I'm going to have to let it. I'm going to have to let it dry because you don't want to antique it. You don't want to antique it. Oops, got a little yellow on my brown here. That's what I check around for. That fixed that. And a little brown in here. And let's go over with our I don't want the hair any darker, but let me go over with my flesh and just hit this, and I let that dry, and then I go over it with a little bit of red to bring it out. And let's go to the ears and the face, because the little red sort of knocks the shyness down on the thing. All right. Well, we let this dry. And before we go, I'm going to set this aside and really let that dry good. Let's go ahead and give the another white coating to the whoop, get all that paint off. A white coating to the it's probably going to have at least 3 coats or something like that on the cross. And there we go. And voila, we got that done now.